Number 3. The wedding of Gary Mayfield and Marjorie Turley. In late October 1979, Marjorie Turley was working as a bartender at the American Legion Club in Hays, Kansas. That month, she met Gary Mayfield, and they became romantically involved. The problem was that they were both dating other people at the time. Turley was still married but separated from her husband, whom she had 5 children with. She was also dating Daryl Stab, who owned an auto repair shop with his brother. As for Mayfield, he was living with his girlfriend. Within a month of Mayfield and Turley meeting, Mayfield got his girlfriend to move out, and he moved Turley in. However, Turley didn't stop dating Stab. Mayfield worked on oil rigs, and while he was at work, Turley would see Stab. A few months after Turley moved in, she got divorced from her husband. In the summer of 1980, Mayfield and Turley decided to get married. Stab didn't take the news well, but he pretended to be happy for Turley and Mayfield. To show there were no hard feelings, Mayfield told Stab that he was welcome to visit their house anytime he wanted. Mayfield and Turley were married at 4 p.m. on August 8, 1980. Stab, who was 31 years old, was depressed all day. His friends tried to cheer him up by getting him drunk. At some point in the evening, Stab and his friends went to his house, and he started showing off his guns. Then Stab snuck away from his friends and went to a local park where Mayfield and Turley were having a reception. But when he got to the reception, the newlyweds were gone. The couple supposedly saw Stab approaching the party, and they left to avoid a confrontation. Stab then went over to the newlyweds' house. Stab thought that this was fine because Mayfield told him that he was welcome to visit any time. When he got to their house, Stab started pounding on the door. The newlywed couple wanted to avoid him, and they weren't going to answer the door. But then Stab opened the unlocked door and walked into the couple's house. Mayfield confronted him and told him to get out. Stab walked back out the door and then down the porch steps while Mayfield followed him. Suddenly, Stab turned around and he fired 3 shots from his .44 caliber Ruger at Mayfield. Mayfield was hit twice. Gary Mayfield, who was 34, died within minutes in the arms of his wife of 8 hours. After shooting Mayfield, Stab calmly walked to his car, got in, and drove away. He went home and he called the police. He told them he killed the son of a bitch. Stab was convicted of second-degree murder, and he was sentenced to 15 to 50 years in prison. Number 2. The wedding of Barry Johnson and Wendy Shobrook. Wendy Shobrook and Barry Johnson met each other at a pub in Plymouth, England, sometime in 2005. Both were heavy drinkers, and Shobrook was addicted to heroin. Eventually, they started dating. 3 years after they met, in June 2008, the couple decided to get married. On June 9th, they went to the Plymouth Register office, and then they held a reception at a restaurant. About 3 hours into the reception, Shobrook started to feel neglected by her new husband, so she left the reception. Some friends found her a short time later. She was sitting outside with 45-year-old George Actorloni, who was her former boyfriend. Her friends convinced her to come back to the reception, and she did. Later that night, the newlywed couple went back to their flat. Then as Johnson was lying in bed, Shobrook set the mattress on fire and told Johnson to burn in hell. On her way out of the flat, she called 999. She then went to Actor Loney's home, and that is where she spent her wedding night. The next morning, Johnson called Shobrook to find out where she was, and she said she was at Actor Loney's home. She then claimed that Actor Loney had sexually assaulted and robbed her. Johnson rushed to Actor Loney's home, and Shobrook let him in. Johnson and Actor Loney started arguing, and then Johnson attacked Actor Loney. He ended up picking up an oar, and he beat Actor Loney with it until it broke. He only stopped the beating when Shobrook stopped him. The couple said that when they left, Actor Loney was bleeding, but he was standing up and he was holding his cell phone. If that is true is unknown. Actor Loney's body was found in a pool of his own blood 3 days after he was attacked. He has sustained 38 injuries, 14 were to the head and neck area. The newlywed couple was arrested shortly afterward. They were both eventually convicted of manslaughter. Johnson was sentenced to 12 years in prison, and Shobrook was sentenced to 5 years for the manslaughter conviction and 3 years for arson. In early 2017, Shobrook was released from prison. On March 14, 2017, she was found dead in her flat after taking a lethal mixture of cocaine and prescription drugs. She was 48 years old. Number 1. The wedding of Rogério Damascena and Renata Coelho. In 2010, 29-year-old Rogério Damascena lived in Caramajib, which is a middle-class city in northeast Brazil. He worked as a salesman for a motorcycle import business, and he was well liked by his co-workers and the management. The managers thought that Damascena had a bright future with the company. Damascena didn't just enjoy success in his work life, his love life was also going great. He was engaged to 25-year-old Renata Coelho, who was a lawyer. On December 19, 2010, the couple was wed in a beautiful ceremony. They held a reception at a luxury condominium complex. They had about 200 guests, and by all accounts, everyone was having a great time. This photograph of the happy couple was taken at 2:21 a.m. 9 minutes later, the reception was starting to wrap up. The newlyweds strolled through the reception, hand in hand, and thanked everyone for coming and sharing their special day. Damascena went to his father and said, "I love you and I'm happy." Damascena then told his new wife and a large group of friends and co-workers to wait for a minute because he had a surprise. He went to his pickup truck and then calmly walked back to the group of people. First he hugged and kissed his new wife. He then pulled out a .380 caliber revolver and shot her once in the side of the head at point-blank range. He then turned the gun on his best man, who was his best friend, 40-year-old Marcelo Guimarães. Damascena shot him multiple times in the head. Finally, Damascena pointed the gun at his forehead, and he pulled the trigger. Sadly, both the bride and the best man were pronounced dead at the site of the wedding reception. Damascena was transported to the hospital, and he died a short time later. The double murder-suicide at the wedding less than a week before Christmas shocked the people of Brazil. The police said that they have never heard of such a joyous event ending in such a tragedy. The friends and family of the couple don't know why Damascena would have done something like that. He seemed nothing less than overjoyed throughout his wedding day. The police could only speculate, but they assumed that the motive was a mix of jealousy and alcohol. Damascena was known to suffer from bouts of jealousy. It is believed that Damascena thought that his new wife and his best man were having an affair, but the police never found any evidence of an affair. Also, Gamerest's widow said that he was a faithful husband who loved his 2 children. Sadly, even if the police did determine a motive, it would have brought little closure to the families who lost someone on that wedding night. The friends and families of the victims, and even the killer, are still haunted by how such a happy day could go so horribly wrong. Thanks a lot for watching today's video. Hopefully you found it interesting. If you did, please give us a thumbs up and subscribe for more videos like it. Also, please go to criminallylisted.com where you can suggest cases, buy merch, and find out about an exclusive podcast. But that's all for today. Thanks again for watching.